Hello, this recording covers Section 1 and 5 of the Getting Started with Archion for AAO Institutional Members training slide deck. Section 1 is basics you should know before starting to edit in Archion, and Section 5 is adding archival descriptions manually through the archival description edit form in Archion. And the training assumes you already have an institutional repository record in Archion and also an active user account. If you do not have these, please contact the Archion coordinator email. And as usual, you can access the slides at this link and also copy the QR code to get access to them as well. If you're following along in the slide deck, you can click to Section 1, Atom Editing Basics. Here are some handy things to know about Archion before you start editing. So first, Archion uses a technology platform built for archives based on archival standards called Access to Memory. Some people call it Atom, some people call it A2M. I refer to it as Atom. And one thing to know about Atom is that if you want to format any of the text you enter into the Archion database, you can't actually use things like HTML tags like italics or bold. Atom uses a markup language called Markdown, and I've linked to the Markdown guide in the slides. You can refer to this if you want to format any of the text that you enter into the database as bold or italic or other formatting options. Remember also that Archion is a shared database, so please be respectful and a good Archion community member. Do not edit any descriptions outside of your own institution. If you do see an error or issue, you can contact the institution responsible for that description, or you can contact the Archion coordinator. An important thing to know about the Atom platform before you begin editing in Archion is that the system times out. So if you're logged in and you're editing a lot of data and you haven't clicked save, and then you step away from your computer, any unsaved work will be lost because the Atom platform will log you out. So just remember to periodically save your work about every 30 minutes. And I've linked in the slide notes to a great presentation from Atom Maintainer's Artifactual Systems that has more tips and tricks and gotchas about the Atom platform that you may want to refer to before you begin editing. Another common gotcha when editing in Archion and Atom is that you do not need to add the creator information or repository information to lower level descriptions. For example, in this example, the phone record has the repository information, and if I click edit on the series, a lower level description, you'll see that the repository information is blank. This is okay because the series is inheriting the phone level repository information. So both repository and creator information, you do not need to enter that data into lower level descriptions, and you can read more about this in the artifactual training that I've linked in the slide notes. Another good thing to know about Atom is how its drop-down fields work. So drop-down fields in Atom, the terms in the fields will only appear as you start typing. If you type in an entry too quickly and press enter, or you copy and paste into this field, you can accidentally create a duplicate entry, and we don't want to make duplicate data in Archion. So these fields are a little sensitive. Just wait for the field to populate and select the term that's already there instead of trying to quickly copy and paste into these fields, because that's when errors can occur. And these kinds of drop-down fields are common with data entry for language fields, access points when you're editing creator information, and also the repository field. And the repository field is especially important that you don't create a duplicate entry, because then it's creating a duplicate repository entry in Archion. So just be careful with these drop-down fields. Now that you know some of the gotchas about the Atom platform, you can begin adding your archival description to Archion manually through the archival description edit form. So you can skip to Section 5. Here is a checklist of things to think about before you start adding archival descriptions into Archion. First, you will want to review the entirety of the Getting Started with Archion training slide deck, any related documentation that's linked, and training videos. If you're unsure about anything, you can contact the Archion coordinator for additional support and to help you answer additional questions. It can also be helpful to have the rules for archival description standard open in another browser tab as you are entering data into the Archion archival description edit form. This can be a refresher about the fields and how you enter data. And because Archion is a shared database, we do want to conform to this standard and have shared practices in how we use the archival description edit form in Archion. I've also linked to related documentation that could be helpful to you, including artifactual systems documentation, MemoryNS videos about adding archival descriptions that are really excellent and more detailed than this recording, and also an intro to describing archives by our former Archion coordinator, Amanda Hill. When you're ready to start, there are two ways to create a description. The first is in the top toolbar. You can click the plus sign and then click Add Archival Description. Or from your repository page, you can scroll to the bottom and click this Add Description button. Both options will take you to this same archival description form for you to begin adding your archival description. I'm not going to cover each field. The slide deck does this. You can refer to the slide deck as well as the additional documentation that's linked in the slide notes from Artifactual and MemoryNS. What I do want to surface from the training slide deck is that once you've created your description, it is not publicly viewable. By default, new descriptions are set to draft, so you'll need to publish the description before any user is able to see it. For example, if I were to create a skeleton test record and then click Create, the Atom platform would automatically set this new description to draft and would indicate this by putting the word draft in parentheses beside the description title. When the description is fully filled in and you're ready to publish it, you scroll to the bottom of the description, click the More button, and then click Update Publication Status. In the Update Publication Status pop-up, you can also click Update Descendants if you want all the children records of the description to also be published as well. And so from a top-level description, you can publish all children descriptions from this one form by checking the Update Descendants box and then clicking Update after setting the publication status to Published. Once your descriptions are published, you can always go back and edit them by scrolling down to the bottom of the description and clicking the Edit form, and you can also choose to select some children records for publication while hiding others if you're still describing the archival records. There are lots of different options for how to publish to Archion. If you need any support with your archival descriptions, please reach out to the Archion coordinator email. Thank you.